I'll get all that checked out, and we'll get that up to date. Uh, but you guys are doing so well. You don't even need the recordings. It sounds like you guys are like on top of it all. All right, so we're gonna do a little more with the Photoshop. Go through a few more tools, a few more things. Now you guys are becoming quote experts at this. Just because I want to kind of get you up to speed as we work on these projects for the next few weeks and go through some kind of ideas. So first, I want to start with we've been working with in the idea of camera raw. And again, hopefully you guys have raw capabilities. What you meaning you have a camera that can shoot raw? If not, that'll be the next thing. And I know I'm looking at the iPhone 13 at least, and there's something called Apple RAW, which I'm assuming is going to be similar. Won't be as good, guys, because again, remember when you talk about cameras, it's all about that sensor. So the bigger the sensor, the more information, the more data it's going to collect, meaning the bigger, the higher the resolution can be. So as we start to get photos from the iPhone, I mean, you got to do 8x10s, no problems. Probably a little larger than that, but you know, are you going to be able to blow it up as some big picture you can put behind the sofa? Probably not. I mean, not without getting, you know, a little bit of bit mapping, a little bit of pixelization kind of happening. So, you know, but the camera, the photo, the Apple Photo RAW, whatever, will help with that. But again, I can tell you it's going to take up a lot more room in your camera. But you know, if you're going to be shooting photos that you think are going to be used for anything large, again, that's when it's time to start looking at and investing in potentially a larger format camera, meaning a digital DSL, changeable lenses, or a mirrorless camera, which also has changeable lenses, but again, it has a bigger sensor inside. And because these items have been out for, we're going to say almost a decade now, at least more than that, you can get stuff used also. So don't be afraid of picking up something used or something that's like last season, that type of thing. As you're starting to get into it, there's no need to, you know, go nuts and spend $3,000 on a camera. Even I don't have that, and I wish I could. I would like to, but at this point, yeah, I'm probably gonna have to upgrade phones still or computers before we get to upgrading the camera. But you know, RAW is where you're gonna go. So I'd like to show you again what some of the things are with RAW. There's more in there that we haven't even touched on. So I want to kind of spend a few minutes talking about RAW again, and then we can move it on from there into some more this straight Photoshop stuff. So let me open up a file. I was playing in here earlier today. Let's go down here. So in Yosemite, they also have sequoia trees. So it's in the kind of, there's a couple locations, a couple groves, but the biggest grove that they have is in the south side of the park. So I'm just going to find a couple. There we go. That's some nice sequoias there. Let me see which one's better. Yeah, we'll open up this one. So I'm going to open up this raw file. I'm just going to go through a couple things with raw, just so you guys can get used to it, and again start to see some of the capabilities of it. And again, there's not a huge difference between working with Photoshop RAW and or Lightroom. The good thing about Lightroom is it kind of does all you can do a lot of editing right there, especially if you're doing photos only, and then you can export them to be printed or shared. It's kind of designed for that. So we opened this up, and it's not too bad. I got a little bit of I think a little bit brightness over here issue. The shadows are pretty decent, maybe a little dark here, but not too bad. But I've got a pretty good range of color. So I'm just gonna probably bump maybe the exposure down a little bit and just see what I get. Just playing around. So I don't want to go too far, but I want to just kind of dim that down. And again, I'm looking over in this kind of corner. I'm going to put the contrast. I'm going to bump the contrast down just a little bit so I get a little bit more graining in there. And I always tend to highlight. I never like to highlight. So I always kind of pull those down. And it's bringing up a little bit more color in the sky. Pull those shadows up a little bit and the whites down a little bit. And you can see it's starting to come out, I think, a little bit. And then we're just going to add in that texture, a little clarity, and then definitely some dehazing. And we'll do a little saturation, a little bit of vibrance. You can kind of see that before and after with that. So that, again, that's what we've gone through before. Nothing special there. Again, I don't want you to lose sight of these items down here where we have the curve that we can play with. Pulling up the detail, again, we can do some really good sharpening in here. Noise reduction is going to get rid of any kind of, or try to get rid of the dots, right? So as we zoom into this, there is noise, and that's what they call it when you start to see the spots in the speck. So that's getting rid of that, and the color noise is just kind of getting rid of some of the color. Same thing, reduction with the noise. So we're just doing that a little bit. It's not, not going to hurt. Leave the sharpen the way it is. The mixer, we're going to leave that as is. In the grading, I'm just kind of leave that. Effects calibration. Do I want to play with my shadows any? So here you can see I'm moving the shadows to more of the red, the magenta. You can see it kind of gave all those kind of areas a kind of a slightly different coat. Where if I go green, you can see it gave it a little bit more green coat. So I'm going to go a little greener with it. Yeah, I want to go a little greener with it, just a tiny bit for the shadows. Now, over here, some other items I don't mess with a lot with, but I want to show you some. So I can crop in here. I can do that right now. Bring it in. 99% of the time, I'm going to crop when I get into Photoshop, because remember, I got to take this photo from camera raw into Photoshop anyway to export it, save it as a JPEG, put it on a website, whatever I want to do, put it on Instagram. So I'm probably not gonna, I don't do a lot here with that, but again, it's cool. The other thing you can do is kind of rotate. So if you have a picture that's kind of off a little bit already, it's well worth, you can do the angle a little bit. This will save you some steps. You can do this obviously in Photoshop, pure Photoshop when you get there, but I think this is not too bad a place to do some of that, kind of playing with the angle a little bit. If you have a picture that's tilted, if you're like me, you tilt a lot. There's some healing brushes in here. Now I'm not doing that, but I'm just going to brush around. You can see, and what it's doing is kind of taking the source from over there. I don't like that, so I'm going to just kind of cancel. Whoops. I'm going to undo that. So I don't like the healing brush here a lot, but some people do. Again, there's also some brushes that you can kind of work on and paint things up and selectively edit some areas. So I'm going to just brush up the exposure a little bit. And what I'm doing is I'm just kind of highlighting that area. Okay, so if you see that, I'm going to do that. It's a little dark here. So with this, I'm going to pull the brush down a little bit more. I can actually physically come in here and just kind of highlight that. That makes sense. So I can pull out some shadows in specific areas if I want to. All right, so again, I don't have to adjust everything. I can do that with the brush tool that they're pulling out. They call it brush, but it's selected edits. Okay, likewise, I can color tint things if I want to with that. But I'm just basically, you see, I put the exposure up to 1, and I'm just kind of pulling in and lightening up a few areas. And again, I can make my brush even smaller, to get in there to a small area that I want to work with. And I'm just holding the shift key so I get a nice straight line as I draw. I'm just kind of picking out some of those shadows that are in there. Not taking them away completely, but again, I'm kind of balancing out the photo. And again, could we do this in Photoshop? Yeah, we can do totally all of this in Photoshop, but you can see right here, it's very, very quick and kind of easy to do. So, I don't want you to lose fact that there are these other options in the panels here with the raw. And again, you can experiment with these with the raw files that we have online on the website. And again, you can also do selective saturations and sharpness, and so you can do quite a bit in here with that. I'm not doing now. I'm going to do a gradient overlay, but we can do some overlays with the gradient. Okay, we can tint that there. A radial filter. I'm not going to be working with that one. We don't have any red eye. We don't get red eye as much. Kind of sad. But we don't have red eyes as much as we used to. A lot of the cameras have like a pre-flash, even something like even the iPhone has a pre-flash that you can use. It kind of gets basically it opens the retina up so we don't get, or closes it down a little bit so we don't get the red eye, because the red eye is basically you're seeing the back of the retina in the picture with that redness. So we don't get that as much. It seems like I don't notice it as much. Maybe I don't take as many pictures in the pure blackness as I should with a flash. Okay. Snapshots here. I did want to show you this. Many times we're dealing with many photos. We're trying to make them all look alike. And we have, we're trying to get a certain feel and look. And Photoshop has presets. So think of these just like you would with Instagram. Lightroom has these also, but it's a way to set things up. Now, obviously some of these like skin tones aren't going to matter too much because of where we are. But all you got to do is kind of drag over them. So you have the original, and I'm just dragging over, and you can kind of see what it's going to do to the photograph. So it will give it different coats and tints. And what it's doing is basically these set up formulas. And the cool thing about it is you can assign this and apply this to many different photos. Okay, so if you bring in, 10 pictures from your trip over the weekend that you went to Paris, or in this case, you went to Yosemite, you can give them all the same tonal qualities here. Because one thing it kind of makes them go together is not only, in this case, location, but also color tone. So utilizing the presets are kind of nice. So, you can go through and go, I like this one. I'm going to put that on, apply that to probably all of my photos and give them a similar quality going on. So again, there's certain ones that, here's turquoise and red. Oh, that totally popped it. That's here. That's here. There's like a nice color pop that's coming in there. I like that a lot. Mist, vintage, warm, flat green, red, warm shadows. So aged photo, color matte, cool shadows, warm and moody. Oh, I like that turquoise red. I think I want to come back to that. These won't, they're designed for skin tones or something like that for portraits. But again, you can go through and see, just because it's a tree doesn't mean you won't find an effect that you like in there. Likewise, black and white. If you want to kind of go through just to see what kind of works. If it works, do it. And cool, remember, we're going to open this up as a smart object. So if I don't like it, dude, I can come back here and turn it off. Okay, so it's not like I'm doing anything that's going to be detrimental to the overall thing. And then there's some additional curves across process. You see that a lot. That's basically the greens and the reds coming in. That's kind of a cool photo style. Lift the shadows. There's something nice about that one. And let me just see what else we got down here. Optics, that's the lens correct. Not a lot of lens correcting happening here because it was pretty good. Even the sharpening, we've already applied a little bit of that. Vignetting is nice sometimes to kind of darken it up. So you could do that here. And then let's see what we have down here. I have a couple film filters. So I don't know if you have, I think I downloaded these, to tell you the truth. What they are is they kind of simulate what it would be like had you taken these pictures with film. Now there's still people that shoot with film. Anybody here shoot with film still? I know there's always kind of.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So there's a few of us. A few. I'm not gonna say us because I don't shoot film anymore. But there's a few people, and they're usually all of us, and kind of we're in the artistic background. Um, you know, you're either a professional photographer or an artist or something like that that decided to go with film. And you know, obviously you're shooting film, and you go have all the magic of a film camera and the film itself for enlargement and so forth. And film has different colors, so there would be, these are the Kodak Golds, and then there's other ones. I hear the Triax. These are black and whites. So these are just a few, and there's a bazillion films out there, and you can get these downloads, especially for Lightroom. So what this is trying to do is kind of simulate what it would have been like to shoot with a Kodak Gold 100 film on a warm or plus warm, actually. So it's kind of boosting up the warmth of the film. So these are kind of simulating what would it be like had you shot with real film instead of shooting digital, as I did. You know, when it first came, I was telling you, when it first came out digital, so I'm like, oh, it's digital, man. I'm old school. I like photos. I like negatives and stuff like that. But God, it's so much easier now. Not to say don't shoot film, because you know those that do are making an art of it, and I think that's awesome. But if you're just kind of, you know, casually shooting, there's so many ways now that we can kind of emulate the film if you want, but also the idea that you can shoot and not have to worry about it. I mean, it used to be you shot, you know, roll of 36, take that out, put another one in. So you would plan, I don't know, you plan your pictures a little better because you didn't want to waste the film because it costs money. Where with digital, it's basically free. You can shoot as many pictures as you like, and then you can delete. And I think there's a nice balance between the two. And like I said, I love to take pictures, and I personally enjoyed the freedom of not having to worry about, did it come out? One, you can see it right away if it's going to work. When do I need a light, and they're dark in it? So I think those kind of things are awesome with digital, but also the fact that I can you know, shoot 15 pictures to get the one that I want. You know, especially when you start to deal with people and portraits and those kind of things, it totally works from a digital standpoint, because I can, you know, you can see if it came out. But again, you know, you got to respect the art of shooting film. And for those that do that, you know, it's an art. And, you know, the possibilities of it are incredible. But at this point in time, guys, if you're just starting, go digital. It's totally the way to go. I think you can get your options quickly and work with it. So I'm going to like open up this turquoise, push that in, and then I'm going to open it with the smart object on. So now we've got the picture here, and we're looking pretty good with that. And it's a smart object. If I want, I can keep it. If I want to change it, I can. What I'm going to do is I want to I'm going to I'm just thinking here. I'm looking to see what I want to do off of this. I'm making a copy of this, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually rasterize it because I want to do some kind of adjustments, and I'm 99% sure that will not work when I get into a smart object. So just rasterize it. What I'm looking at here is I like these trees over here, but here I'm getting a little bit of bend, I think. I'm getting some lens distortion. I know I was shooting with a wide angle lens, so I just want to kind of undo the distortion. So one thing I wanted to show you, and again, we started to go through some of the filters, but I want to show you a couple more. So let me just pop in here. I'm going to see what this is going to give me. Wow, that got big. Let me pull that down. So I'm playing with, this is the wide angle. It's going to give me wide angles. I'm just trying to see if it's going to straighten a little bit. This spherical is cool. Let me do the fisheye, see if that'll work here. Fisheye is at like total roundness. Okay. So I'm going to scale this down so you can see a little bit. I'm going to push the focal length down. It's going to turn it. Okay. So what we're doing is basically we're twisting the picture to fit into a certain area. There are fisheye lenses. I tend to shoot, I have like an 11mm lens. It doesn't seem to distort that much, but it does somewhat with that. Under filters is this thing called filter galleries. Now we've individually selected things, but we've never touched them. But if we hit gallery, I just kind of want to show you what that does. What it does is, let me pull this down so we can see, it gives us a huge amount. It doesn't do everything, but does 99% of them, of those things from the drop down. So if we did the drop down, we would see artistic and we see brushes and distort. There's things that aren't here because it's not in the gallery, like focus and those kind of things. But it gives them to you here and you can see it previewed. So I'm going to scale this down so you can see what's going on with the picture. And then you basically just click it and it will give you that option. So it's like working to see what it looks like. And you can just kind of quickly go through them all to get the look and feel. So we're not right at this point messing with the angles. We will get into that distortion a little bit, but it's going to give you that look and feel and show you what it looks like. So it's going to save you kind of a lot of time going through. And again, these things are adjustable. Okay, so they're not just like one time is good to go. You can make adjustments on it. So this is kind of looking nice. Do this cutout. The number of levels is basically the number of colors. So if I push this up, it's going to bring that in. If I push it down, it's going to delete them away. It was set at 4. And again, you can go through and make adjustments to that. You know, this is like very kind of Illustrator-like, which is really nice. And you can get a quick preview as to how it's going to work. And this fidelity looks like it's adjusting the edges to sharpen or help define them. See, that's a lot less. So it might be something you want to keep up, depending on what you want. And again, it's part of this is to find out that creativity. So it's, you know, to save you steps and you go, okay, that's not what I want. Totally don't want that. Let me try something else. So you can quickly come over to something else and try. And sometimes you don't know what it is until you do it. This is the plastic wrap, and it kind of gives us this kind of sheen on it. That might be what you want. But you know, maybe, okay, maybe I want paint dabs. I want to make it more like an oil painting. Okay. And this is what this does. And you can zoom in, you know, to see what it looks like and see those dabs that are on the pink canvas. Okay. So you can come through and look at these and check it. And then there's, you know, the brush size you can change. You can see it's going to make some dramatic differences here in a second. Sharpness. And then we're going to go with the sparkle brush. Let's see what that does. I don't like it. I don't like it. Just because it was called sparkle, I liked it, but I don't like what it's doing. Okay. So the gallery, the effects gallery, is totally awesome. Likewise, you can come down to something like, you know, green. stained glass effect. You can give it texture. We'll scale it up so you can see it there. You can see that's what that's doing. Patchwork, and you can change the size. Glowing edges. Yeah. Sketching. And you're going to go, well, why is it going orange? Well, it's because I have orange over here. I have orange and black. So it's picking those colors off of there to do it. So if I wanted to be green or something else, I would pre-select my colors before I got into here. Okay. But you get some pretty cool things. And let me just pull this up a little bit, the halftone size. So this is going to be the look kind of like printing on a newspaper. You get that look here, these kind of dots, these halftone dots. Pretty slick. And again, you can change the colors if you want. You just have to select your colors prior to coming in. And then I'm just going to click OK just to do it. And it changed it out. Okay, but you see it did it as a permanent change, right? So I would have to convert this to a smart filter or smart object first before doing it. So that, again, I'm not making that permanent change to it. So convert to a smart object, okay, which is smart filters. Okay, and now I can go back to my gallery and do it. Things that you won't see in there, you can see the blur, distort, and those kind of things. They just weren't there because they're not in a gallery. It's more of these kind of, you know, halftones and styles, embossing, those kind of things that were added to the filter gallery. Okay, so, you know, pulling that up here and then coming back is kind of where you want to be to make those changes. And we're the same gallery, boom. And you can see now it's a smart filter. I can turn it on and off. Okay, so again, that's the smart way to go, because it may just be like, dude, the orange is not working for me now. I need to change it. I can come back in, change the colors, and then come back and readjust this filter without it overwhelming the thing. Now I want to make some quick adjustments for the angles here. So this is kind of where transform comes into play. Now there is a perspective warp, and I want to see if that's going to work. Nah, that's not going to work. So basically that's doing a building. You can see here, working those out and then pushing it in, and it will help define the architecture. I'm just going to go to, make sure I'm on the right layer. Oh, I didn't want that. Sorry. Right in there. Give me a sec. I'm just going to do this, get through this filter effect, apply it, and I'm going to delete it here. I did not want this. Okay. Delete that off. I'm going to turn off the filter so we can see it. I'm going to go to the warp. I think it's probably where I think I'm going to, and the warp will give you different things. So we have distort, skew, and again, it depends on what sides that you can use. So skew will, okay. You can see here. So this may be one I want to get to. It's not changing everything on the sides. It's just here. You can see that. I'm going to apply that and then put it back on, and then warp. And you can see this is a nice little warning. It says, hey, we're going to just turn off the filter for right now because of what you're doing. We'll turn it back on later. So the warp gives me individual points that I can kind of change from. Okay, and it gives me these Bezier curves too, so I can kind of really literally twist things around should I want to. So that's a full warp. So I think I'm going to go back to that stort. I think that worked out pretty nice. Turn that off. So what I'm doing, I'm just trying to get this tree so fine. This tree is pretty fine, but this one's feeling like a little bit off. So I just want to kind of, I'm just sliding it over to straighten it. Give it a little straight. And you see as I'm doing that, it's also there. Now I might need to pull this one over a little bit now that that's done. And I'm kind of balancing it back and forth to get the trees to a straightness that I want. Because in reality, they are straight, right? I mean, it's just the lens distorted it to give it that curve, that angle. So, you know, here's before, here's after. Okay, so zoom out a little bit. Before and after. So we're not totally changing the picture, we're just kind of distorting it, getting it really back. Well, I don't say we are distorting it, but what we're doing is getting back to where it really was. Okay, we're getting it back to what it would look like more naturally. It's not to say you wouldn't look at this and go, oh, that's a nice picture, but I think most people will look at this and have a better reaction to it because it's the trees are straight up and down, because they are. Not the way the lens captured it here. Okay, so I think that, you know, as an artist, as a designer, you have to start to balance out not really what came out on the camera or with your lens, but what looks right as you start to work and start to be creative. Okay, and those are the kind of things I want to really start to work on as over the next few weeks as we're dealing with Photoshop, is getting the image the way you want it to be, not just because, not the way the image is. Okay, so if I gave you this image, you're gonna go, okay, it's cool, colors are awesome, we made our adjustments in raw, we like what's going on here, composition's good. Again, composition's hard to change, guys. We'll spend some time, yeah, probably next week after, talking about photography and some composition. I want to give you guys some photo tips and tricks and stuff like that. And but the composition's there. You gotta, you know, you gotta put. I can't add this tree in, right? I mean, it'd be very hard to put a tree in that wasn't there. I could take things out, and I can again correct things to reshape to make them better. I can brighten things and darken things with Photoshop or Camera Raw, but I can't really add trees in. Okay. Now, again, I can fake things out. I could, you know, put in a person. I could, you know, we know how to change the skies. We can do those kind of things. But it's really, really hard to make a new composition, right? You have to kind of get that. And that just comes with practice and training, and knowing what to look for. And again, we'll spend some time with that and give you guys some short little projects with that. All right, so we'll deal with photography soon. I'm going to get into we'll get into some of the social media stuff soon for you guys that are on social. Anybody not on social media? Something? Photoshop, Instagram. I'm sorry, yeah. I'm sorry, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, the TikTok. Anybody not on something? Everybody, so everybody is on or is on social media, right?
I mean, I
Yep.
have it. I don't really post anything.
Well, that's
I kinda
okay. You don't have to
myself.
post. You get it. You're on it, meaning you look at stuff.
Yeah.
Well, I'm going to show you some stuff, so hopefully you'll post more. Okay, and we'll again, we're going to talk about how you can use some of this stuff for your own benefit. You know, I mean, some people like to share pictures. Some people like to share way too many pictures. You know, I mean, I might do the occasional picture of my tacos, but I don't, you know, take 15 pictures of me eating the tacos along with the tacos and all the sides that went with that and post all that. You know, there's people that overpost in that sense. If you do, that's you, that's fine. You know, because ultimately it's about being you and having fun while you're doing it. But I don't, you know, you don't have to. I mean, people think I have to do that. I got to post. No, you post one picture. Okay. So we're going to go through how to do that a little bit better, but photographically, so you'll feel better with it. We're also we'll talk about ways to use Yeah, something like Instagram to make a portfolio. Get your work out there, get noticed. Um, Trust me, work comes from this stuff, and things can come from the social media. Okay, so we will spend some time and I'll share some of the things I've learned over the years with you guys on that. But it's about, composing and getting the picture in and working with it. I'm just looking to see if there's anything else I really haven't gone over tools. The eyedropper tool, we've seen this pop up, but it's pretty easy. If I want, say this brown, I don't know what it is, hit the eyedropper and it puts it in over here. Okay, so if I want the blue, it puts that in. If I want the green. So it's a way to do it, and you can kind of see even as you're going around, I'm just holding down the mouse as I move. It's giving me my color. So the color below is what it was, and the color above is what we're changing to. Okay, so if I want a darker green, it's there. Now you see that dark green is below. It's just a visual representation here in that circle. But again, oftentimes we'll pick a color from here in order to do stuff. So if I was doing like maybe some type, I may not want the white, but I might want a little bit this kind of a creamy brown red in there. And then I've got that picked. I didn't have to kind of figure out what was that. I didn't have to double click there and kind of go. And again, you see that eyedropper pop up also here. Same thing. So you can go directly to it, or you can go to the color picker there, and then you can type in. And 3D, we don't worry about that. The ruler is a way that you can kind of measure things, but it's also a way that you can kind of put things in. So right now it's just kind of, we put in these counts. We're trying to figure out and where things are. So it's kind of more of a way to kind of position things if you need to from an accuracy standpoint. I use the guides most times. I don't use that. There is a note tool. What this is basically you can type a note, and then if you open the file, if I sent it to you, you'll see that in the notes. You'll see, oh, there's a note. You click on it, and it's going to say sky allure. Is that a real word? I think that's you or I don't know. Make the sky. I'm just make it blue. Okay, and then I could save that with the file. So when you open it up, you'll be able to see that. Okay, so you can send notes back and forth with that. Again, I don't use it terribly much, but you can see it came over. I'll just delete the note. Yes. Okay. And there's something there to delete on that. Let me just delete that off of there. Okay. Let's delete the note. Okay. So we did the eyedropper. We did the notes, which I don't really use. We've done the healing brushes. We've done the brush. Let me do this. Let me do some brush things real quick, because we haven't spent a lot of time on brushes. So I want to do something here. Let me get up here. I'm going to make a new layer. And what I want to do is I'm going to do a blending. So I want to put, I'm going to paint in half of this with a one color. I'm just going to look at my brushes here. I'm going to get it larger. And I'm going to have it hard. I want a hard brush. Again, with hard brushes, we get this sharp edges. And I'm just painting this in. And I'm going to give us a darker color. We're not, don't worry about the background picture. That's just another layer. And I'm going to want to blend that with some darker colors. So let me go to my eyedrop tool. And I'm going to pick a darker brown. There we go. And then I'm going to brush that in also over here. What I'm going to do ultimately is I want to blend between the two. I want this to go from this light brown to the darker brown without having so much. We don't want this line, right? We want to blend from one to the other. And I could do a gradient, and the gradients definitely work. But if we're working with some kind of, I don't know, a circle or a sphere, the gradients don't necessarily work as well in there. There is a thing called the mixer brush. Okay, so we've done brush, and you can see I can paint, but there's a mixer brush. And what I'm going to do is with that, I've selected it, and I've got the icon is a little bit of drop, stimulates real painting techniques, blending colors, various paint wetnesses. Boom, let's learn a little more about this. So when you see these things come up, don't be afraid to click them, especially when they're newer tools that you haven't used, or they may have updated them. So you can kind of click, and it just kind of takes you through the mixer brush, simulates painting. Again, this is where, you know, a lot of you guys are going to come into play if you're doing animation, you're trying to work on backgrounds. You're having things as photographs, but then you're going to start to blend them together. And with this, you can do that. Now, this brush works on one layer though, so you can't work it on multiple layers at a time, but it will definitely work on one layer. And I'm going to give it a little bit bigger brush so we can see. I'm going to give it a little bit, yeah, give it a medium thickness. Up here we get the wetness, and the load is how much paint it holds on, the mix, the flow. And again, this is where you're going to have to just kind of play and experiment with that to see what kind of works for your situation. And I'm going to give it a, we're just going to try it as it is. So these are kind of the presets. We're just going to kind of go along. And you can see, I really want a bigger brush to make it go. And it's going to put those things, and you see I still got a little bit of a gap in there, a little bit of line, and we have to figure out how to work that out. But what it's doing is kind of blending these two together to do that. So I'm a little bit icky right now. So let me just step it back a few steps, and then we're going to play with our adjustments here. So low wetness, mix, I'm going to put that down to 50. And I'm going to pull the flow down a little bit. So the flow is like how hard does it do it? And then this is the adjustment there. Let me just see. What I'm doing is trying to blend these two across. It takes time, right? It takes time to kind of go back and forth. You basically want to drag it one way, and then you drag it the other. It's not too bad. We got a little bit of a choppiness going on there, and I need to work that out. So I'm going to take that back in my history to get that to where I want it to be. Just stepping it back. So I'm trying to get the right flow, right? Whoops. So we got the mix there. The load was pretty good. I think we'll pull that down to also 50. And then let me just see if we got anything presets in here. Moist does what to 10. Food. Getting there, not quite yet. Again, I'm just kind of working this to get to the feel that I want. See which is going to flow better. Mix up. No, mix flow down. It's an experimentation. You know, this is where you're going to go to get this to be just right. And that's not too bad. We're looking, I'm looking at the blends. Okay, I don't want to so much jaggedy in there. And we're going to do the wet up. Catch up. Okay, now I think we're feeling a little bit better with that. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to stretch it out. I've got that line gone, and I'm just stretching. I'm dragging it out as we go. to ultimately try to blend this in. And the goal is to get this from one side to the other where it feels somewhat natural of a blend. Okay, so as you start to work, as you start to paint, you're going to want to be able to do things like blending paints and blending colors. And I think this is one of those brushes that will definitely help you out. Okay, so that's the mixer brush. So it's doing it all for you. Now, another thing you can do is a smudge tool. I'm gonna turn that layer off. I'm gonna do another new layer. And I'm just gonna pink that in just again. Because I want to show you how you can do this, because as we start to go, as you start to build things up, you're going to want to get more of a photographic or painter style. You'll be able to do this, also do some similar things in Illustrator, but Photoshop gives you a little bit more flexibility from a painting standpoint, because it will react and work a little bit more like a real paintbrush would. So if you're used to painting with a brush and such, this will kind of give you the effects. The other one I want to show you is the smudge tool, and that is under, oh, we got the smudger, there we go. The smudge tool under blur and sharpen. The smudge tool, and I'm going to give it a little bit bigger brush so you can see it. And what it will do is just kind of drag. You see it's kind of slowly moving. My computer's getting slow now. It's like intensive video. Let me turn off those other layers below. Maybe that'll speed it up. You can see it's just like dragging. Oh my God. Finger painting. So what it's doing is it's actually dragging over the colors and it's kind of smudging them around and moving them around. So it's taking the pixels that it sees and smudging, and depending on the strength and the modes and all that you have it in, will give you this kind of blend. See, I'm getting really slow here. I'm not going to do too much of this because I don't want it to crash on me here. Really slow. Okay, let me just turn that off. Get rid of it. It's still trying to think. That's the problem. It's still doing it. My computer slowed down so much. Okay. Go back to this and back to this. With that. Looks like there's something like that, huh? Move that picture around. I wanted to show you again. We had the type with the mask. Free, and I'm going to do a new layer to make it easier. So what I'm doing here is I'm doing type that will end up becoming a mask, which will make it, it's kind of cool. Again, you should select your type first to do that so you get the right typeface going in. And then you can basically drop in things. You can drop in paint colors. I could paste into, let me see if I have anything. I'm going to open up something really quick. Keep that hopefully active. I'm just going to open this picture. I'm going to select it. And I'm going to do a special paste special, and paste into. If you're used to old Photoshop, these they used to be up here on the panel on the edit. drop down. They buried them in here to paste special. And I'm going to paste into, and it should put it into my tree. There we go. So what it did is it made a mask and it put that in there. And now I can move that mask around. I can move that picture around that's inside of the mask. Okay. So again, it's a way that we can kind of do that. And if I link them, now I can kind of move it all around the way I want onto the picture. So it's a way of quickly adding text into or images into text. Okay, so it's, you know, fairly common that we do that. It's just a matter of the look and feel that you want to do. And I may want to pull that down. I'm going to unlink that because I want to just kind of scale the picture down. Maybe the whole picture will kind of show up in there. There we go. Okay, and then I'll link them again. That way, if I move it, the mask moves with the picture itself in there. Okay, but you do notice it's not text in the sense of a true text where I can come back in and edit. It's simply making a mask. So you have to kind of pick out your type first. If I'm in here and I type in tree, I can come back now to paragraph, character, and I can make that change, right? I can change it to whatever I want it to be in here. And I can rescale and do all those kind of things with relative ease, okay? So the masking tool for type or making type into a mask, it totally works. But you know, you're at this point, you're planning to put something else into it. It could be gradients, it could be photos. You wouldn't do it just for color, right? Because if I just need to change color, I can do that here, right? I can change my color here. There's no need to make a mask and then paint inside that mask to get the color into play. Okay, I could just kind of do it here. Okay. Now, again, with that idea of pasting into can be done on other ways too, is if I'm here, I can use the magic wand and I can select this letter, okay? And if I hold the shift, I can select multiple ones, okay? And then I can make a new layer. And it's the same kind of theory as the other, and then I can paste into, and it's saying, okay, your picture, and now I've got that the other picture back in there. And you see it did the same thing. It made a mask and it put the picture in, okay? And now I can move that picture around as I see fit. And then once I'm done, I'm gonna link those two up. So whenever I move it, I'm moving it around. Okay, so I still have this as a type layer. Okay, but what I did was I just selected the elements, meaning the letter forms with the magic wand tool. Okay, and then I was able to paste it in. So I just held shift down and selected each letter. Okay, so kind of brought them all up together and grouped them. Okay, and that just kind of is made a big layer. So we don't need that one. And now we have these two layers of trees. And again, you can go in and play with the idea of opacity on the picture itself. You can pull that up and down. And again, remember, you can also play with the blend modes. Right, see what's it going to do. Because right now it's just basically a picture on top, picture that has the shape of the letters. So I can see if something might work in there to give me some kind of cool effect that I might like. Again, this is so much in the past, guys, you had to click on this. No, that's not like, undo it or go to the next one. You would have to keep clicking through all of these. Now you can literally just kind of scroll over them and you get some really cool effects. Right? And you can see what they're going to do. So they're making Photoshop easier and better all the time, which is nice. And it's good to see. All right, let me see if there's anything else I want to cover. The blur, I think we did the blur and sharpen. It's gonna be hard to see, but if you just kind of, you're basically painting in an area and it sharpens it, and it'll sharpen it up. You didn't see it there, but I'll do the blur and you'll see that definitely. Computer's thinking, blur. So I'm gonna blur it out. And you can adjust the strength and so forth up here. You can do 100% to exaggerate for you guys. And it will ultimately blur. It's a slow process, but sometimes you just want a subtle blur or subtle sharpening, and this will work it there. Okay, it looks like normal mode is what we want. So I'm blurring it out in there. It will take some time, but if it's going back and forth with it, you will get that blurrier. Okay, not the quickest tool, but it works, right? It's more of a kind of a detail thing, much like the smudge, right? If we're in the smudge, I'm on the wrong layer here. The smudge tool, well, it's not gonna work because it's a smart object. So let me rasterize that real quick. Layer, smart object, rasterize, smart object. Boom. Okay, so now if I do the blur, I think it's gonna work a little bit better. Smaller brush. It's gonna blur. That's the strength. Let me simply drop that down a little bit. You can see it's blurring it out. And we'll do the sharpen. We'll sharpen that area. I was on another layer when it was doing it before. You can see it's sharpening up. Don't want that. It was down here. Oops, go back. And too far back. Okay. Dodge burn. Okay, dodge will lighten areas and burn will darken. So we did this kind of in the camera raw when we were lightening up just one area, right? So if I just do this here, get a bigger brush, I'm just going to bring it down, click and drag. It's just going to kind of lighten it. So I'm just lightening up areas, exposure, midtones. Yeah, we're good. So I can just kind of pull out certain areas. Okay. Likewise, I can darken up some areas. If I don't, say I want this bark to be a little darker over here, I can burn it, and burning it just will darken it. Okay, so it's kind of physically darkening that specific area. Okay, as you can see, it got darker in there. Back to where we were. History. Okay. And we did the pen tool. Select path. No, we did the tool there. And tool, no big deal. If you edit, this is edit, you can kick things in and out, right? So you may go, look what, I use the healing brush all the time with what I'm doing, right? Maybe your job is to do photo touch-ups. So you can change what's in your thing, and you can actually change their position also. I'm gonna leave it as is because I want mine to kind of match the computer setups, but it just shows you what they are, and you can kind of go through and adjust those, and there's some different shortcuts down here for those. So I'm going to leave them as they are, but you can modify and change these based upon what you're doing. So if you're always working certain things, you may go, dude, I don't want to have to come all the way down here. I'm already up here using other tools. I can just kind of click and move. All right. Let's see if anything else. I'm just kind of going through some of the things we may have jumped over. Many times when we're working, we have a lot of windows open. Let me just open another one just so I can demonstrate this. Yeah, Yosemite at night, huh? I'm like, told the wife, we're stopping. I'm gonna get some pictures of the night. And I got my car, I got my tripod. I'm up there on the way around. It was a little bit of we got a lot of moonlight coming in up here, so it's not perfect. There's a lot of streaky moon stuff, but it's kind of cool. And this red looks like it's fall or something. It was actually a pine tree, and somebody was backing up behind me, and their light from their tail light made the tree red. Kind of nice. Anyway, so you've got pictures you've been working with, but you're really working back here on this one. This is your baby, so you've been importing and moving around. So if you want to close all these out, and you want to have 6 or 8 tabs open, if you right click onto this one, the one we're on, you can put close all, and it's going to take those away. I'm going to close all. It says need to make a change. I'm going to don't save. It closed them off. I didn't want to do that. Oh my. I have to close other windows. Oh, darn you. Consolidate. Close others. Did I keep the wrong one? Let me see. Just give me a sec. I'm going to open up a couple windows. I know I do this all the time. I think I picked the wrong button. You ever do that? Hit the wrong button? Okay, so this is the one I want to keep open. Close others. That's what I meant to do, not all. I always overhit the button. So it closes those others out, and then it'll keep the one you have open. So as you open all these other windows, you want to just kind of get rid of them. You know, you've already taken from them what you need from a compositing standpoint. Now you're in here, and you can kind of work it. Just kind of right click onto the tab, and it'll give you that option there. Okay, but be careful, because I hit the close all, and I closed it, and I didn't save because I didn't think I needed it. No, whatever. My mind was thinking wrong. All right. Anything else I want to cover for today real quick? Questions as we've been going through here? Questions?
Hello?
Yes, yes.
All right, yeah, just wanted to make sure. For blending, would the gradient tool also be useful or no?
No, you totally could, right? I mean, you could, make a new, let me just make a new layer. And you could pick your colors here, and then you could use the gradient tool to do that. All right, and that's the black and white. Sorry, I wanted to go to my colors here. You can totally do that. It's just the problem with the gradient tool is it typically tries to go things at a straightness. So if I have if you were painting, that's where if you were painting something, it's real hard to paint into that area. Does that make sense? So typically what we would do is, I'm going to do that filter here. Wait a second. Do the filter gallery. I'm going to give this kind of that artistic touch that I like. Cut out. That's what I was liking before. Push it up a little bit. Okay, I'm going to click OK. So it did this kind of artistic painting thing that you want. And let's say I want to blend in here. I just want a small blend. There's something that I want to change. There's no way to really do a gradient here, okay? Because these are colors that are on the layers. If I want to smooth this line out, this is where something like maybe the blur tool comes into play. And I'm going to make that smaller. And I can kind of blend them with a blur. All right, so I'm just kind of blending that way. Zoom in so you can see it a little bit more. I'm kind of blending those pixels. Or I can come back in with that brush, right? The color mixer brush, and kind of go back and forth. Let me get, my brush is so big. I can kind of blend them that way. Okay, so this is what we're talking about. It's kind of the painting from one area to another. You want to kind of smooth things out. So you may have rough painted it in, but like it's like I want to. It's too much, so I want to kind of smooth those edges out. So that's kind of where the blend comes in with the painting mode.
Oh, okay.
Does that make sense? So like
Yeah.
this is at this point, it is a photograph, but it's starting to look more like a painting. It kind of looks like I've painted things in, and I can get in there, and again, depending on how I adjusted it, get in and play with those blends to get rid of those sharp edges, or make one thing appear to be another, or even paint it out. I might want to paint it out with that. So something like the blend tool, the smudge tool works pretty well. Just going to smudge things over, kind of moves pixels around. The dodge, I did a burn. I'm going to burn it, and basically the burn's going to darken it. Feel the burn, man. This is going to darken that all up. Doesn't get rid of it, but it just totally darkens it up wherever I'm kind of painting over, and that will get rid of things like highlights and shadows or things you don't want. Like maybe I don't like it. I want to keep it, but I don't want it, right? It's just too bright right now. So I can literally just kind of come in and paint up that one little area to darken it up. So these are all kind of like tools that you would use to make things kind of disappear or hide, or to add in, depending on what you're doing. But they're more painterly tools than they are color correcting tools. Does that make sense? So when we're dealing with blending, we're smudging, we're burning, they're really kind of things we're playing with the colors and the pixels themselves, as opposed to when we're doing with compositing, we're bringing in, a picture of a bird and putting it on top of this other picture because we wanted to. Okay. So again, this is where Photoshop comes in really nice, is being able to kind of convert some of these things. Again, now it's pixels that you can kind of paint with. Before this, it was a photograph. That makes sense. So let me go back to my history when we opened this. That's a photograph. You can look at that and start to see, that looks like a photograph. But if we go back to the there, you can see it's no longer a photograph. It becomes these blobs of color that you can start to paint with. That makes sense. And you'll see similar things when we get into Illustrator. Okay, they're kind of merging back and forth now. So there is that similar thing to working with for painting and blurring with Illustrator. It's just in this case, it's pixel based. It's not vector based, which you'll see when we get into Illustrator is a little bit different.
All right.
Okay. Other questions?
Can I ask what the name of that particular filter that you're using in this one is? I didn't catch it. Sorry.
This was the hold on, let me bring it back up. I was in the cutout.
Okay, cool.
Cutout, artistic cutout. And again, you can adjust these here, right? If this drop down just brings you to the different ones that are over here, so that drop down doesn't, it just changes filters. Okay,
Right,
but here's where you can adjust them. Okay. And you can do multiple filters, just so you know. You can start adding filters in. So we did cutout there, and then I can do plus, and then I can go to the palette knife, and now I'm adding palette knife on top of the cutout down here to give me my effects. Does that make sense too? So don't think of it as just one effect. You can do it this way, where you're kind of clicking a plus, add a new effect layer, and you're building it on top. Boom, you bring it over, and it gives you that effect there. Okay. Now remember, I didn't start with a smart filter, so I can't change these. So that's something you would want to do, is make it a smart filter beforehand. So as you get in there, you can come back and make changes. Because I guarantee you need that option now to be able to change things. All right, other questions? Let me stop the share, see if I make sure we got everybody's attendance. Who slipped in there at the last? Jessica came in. Chris came in. Chris, you okay? You've been missing for a while. You're back with us?
Huh? I've been here.
No, Chris here, Chris Joe.
Oh, all right.
It's okay. Okay. All right, just verifying everybody. I think we got everybody today. Okay, so as a reminder, we will not have class on Wednesday. Take the time to work on your projects and getting those to organize. I will have a video up for you guys. It's a little bit more Photoshop, just to kind of go. It won't be that long. Don't worry. And work on those. And you know what? Yeah, just do that. Just do that. I don't want to overburden you guys. Work on the projects. Okay. Next week, I think we're going to start talking about social media a little bit. We have social media, we have photography, and I want to get into kind of also like how to print t-shirts if you want to do a t-shirt. So, let me know what you guys' preferences is to kind of start with. They're all kind of different subjects. They're all kind of mixed together. And I don't want to do them all at once because that'll kill you guys. It's too much. So if you had a preference between social media, we'll just say printing t-shirts or some basic photography, which of those three would you guys like to do?
Probably social media for me, at least.
Okay. Others?
That sounds like something useful.
Okay.
For me, is between social media and printing t-shirts.
Okay. We're gonna get there. Don't worry. We're not skipping that. I'm just trying to figure out what you want to do first, so I can kind of figure it out for next week. All right, so we'll do some social media. We'll start with that. Good, the bad, the ugly, how to, benefits. And again, you may not be utilizing it all right now, but I totally think this is the way to go, guys. As you guys start to get more creative, as you start to do things, this is a place. And I'll show you real life examples. I've got some past students that are really utilizing it well from a portfolio standpoint. So again, that's an option for you. But it's also just an option of, hey, I want to share pictures. I want to get better, get comments and get feedback. Those are good ways to do it. So we'll chat about that come next week with that. All right. Anything else before we're good for today? Remember, no class Wednesday. I'm out of town. Anything else? Everybody good? Everybody's okay with the project we're working on, the records?
So far, I've already limited down the two I'm gonna pick from. I just got to figure out which one would work aesthetically.
Okay, good.
All right.
When's the project due again? Someone said, I believe it's the 14th, the 13th. What did we say here? Hold on, let me look at the calendar. I think it's 13 for you guys. 13th. You guys will be the 13th.
Yeah, the
other
13th.
class is the 14th. Yeah.
All right.
So we've got time. Let's do plenty of time.
For the thing you were gonna have us do on Wednesday, is that gonna require a submission or just a practice?
No, just practice.
Okay,
Alright.
cool.
Yeah. No, submissions I'll give to you guys like I did with the record album. Here's a piece of paper saying here's what we got to do, and this will be the due date and all that kind of stuff. Anything else is right now is practice. My philosophy is I want you guys to work with this program. I want you to utilize it and experiment with it. I don't want you to feel pressured that, oh, I got to do this, this, and this to meet some requirement. Okay. It's not about requirements, guys, because everybody's going to use Photoshop differently. What they're going to be doing in their career, or their life, whatever it's going to be. So I'm trying to give you guys enough that if you go into this, that's good. If you go into that, it's good. But I want you guys to be able to play with it and work with it, not be kind of tied down by my silly requirements. You'll get enough of that later. Okay, you're gonna get enough teachers that go, I need this, this, and this, and you guys are just getting into this. I don't want to kill you.
All right.
Anything else? All right, guys, have a great week. We'll see you next Monday. work on the Photoshop, work on compositing, and start working on your photo or your record albums. Okay, and we're gonna keep going from there.
All right. See you
Alrighty.
then.
All right, thank you guys.
Have a
Bye
good week.
next week.
Bye.
Thank you, Professor.
Thank you.